Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and it is another story time live stream. Tonight, we are featuring Amazing Spider-Man Unmasked at Last. This is part 3 in a little series I'm doing through Marvel Masterworks Volume 9. If you missed out, there was a massive sale at the end of December where you could get Marvel Masterworks like this for $1 to $2, depending on the on the volume. Super sale. This particular issue was lovingly donated to me by a good friend and viewer, I guess. I'll call him. I'm trying to struggle to identify it. This is the real Dr. Venkman. Gifted this to me at full price. Unfortunately, he did it a little before the sale, but I thanked him because obviously that was even more generous that he was willing to do that. And I thought I would pay it forward by sharing this gift with you guys. I hope you've been enjoying it. We have read 4 of the issues thus far on the channel. This is Storytime Live. So if you're new to this, if you're just tuning in now, if you're, for whatever reason, this is the first time you've watched, the way this works is I read stories through comics live on the interwebs. And we all sit around and chat and we have fun. We talk about it. Most of the people in the chat are regulars. If you're not a regular, stick around and become one. I usually just blather on about nonsense for a little while before we get to the reading. This gives people time to stroll in. So there's a little bit of mingling, people hanging out. It's kind of like you go to the movies, you know, and they got the little whatever crap they put in front of the movies these days, you know. They got the projector running, like, you know, the before the movies video, not the trailers. They have the things before the trailers now. And every theater brand has their own thing that they do, and it's like they put the trivia up and they do whatever. It's nonsense. I'm not as good as the movie theater, so don't expect any coolness here. It's really just a delay and get time. It also gives me time to just talk. I like to talk. You might go, no shit, Ash, we get the point. If you're coming in late, if you're watching this after the fact, and you're like, I don't want to hear you, I'm not a part of the stream, I just loaded this video up because I wanted to hear a comic book. I completely understand. Just use the little fast forward button and drag it over until you see the comic book come up. I probably, you know, if someone's real nice, they'll put a timestamp in the comments below when the comic starts, and you can do that. Also, disclaimer, I am not a professional voice actor, so while I may get up there and try and do dramatic voices and do something, I'm closer to an American Idol audition failure than I am an audition winner. I am aware of this, but, you know, it's all good fun. And that's that. So without further ado, let's see who's first in the channel tonight. It's Melissa, of course. Melissa is like the reigning heavyweight. She's like the Muhammad Ali of getting in the chat. So you guys, someone needs to take her down a peg. She is first. Tahilum is second. He says no, Ash would be first. Anyone after that would be last. Actually, I wasn't first because I just load up the video. I don't actually go into the chat when I do the whole start the stream stuff. So I can't really be first unless I actually go into load up the chat. Maranya is here. She's third. She says here and about to put the kettle on for some chocolate coffee. In the rest of the world, that's translated as mocha, but chocolate coffee sounds pretty good. See, RDV is in the house. He says, I watched Ash's comic book haul. The title should have been, How About Now? That's a good idea. Thanks. I might use that idea. I uploaded it. I kind of made a mistake. Normally when I upload it into what's called a private setting, so you can't see the video. And then you have to go in and turn it on to be public. And this gives me a chance to go in and make sure the title's right and put the little keywords and all the stuff. Put a thumbnail on it. But if you don't do that, for whatever reason, defaults, you load up a video and YouTube just publishes it. So the video, if you guys watched it already, you might have noticed it was just called Untitled 11 because the video editor software I use just defaults, and it's the 11th untitled video that I've uploaded. which is surprising. I've only done 11, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of videos. So I've only 11 times I've done this now. That's pretty good. So I noticed that. I was like, wait a second. Forgot to do that. So I think I'm going to re-edit the title, maybe make a thumbnail. It's not a fancy video. If you haven't seen it, don't expect much. I got some not comics. Technically, they're hardcover trades. I ordered before Christmas from In Stock Trades, and they're really nice. And I've been waiting patiently to get them. And I got home today after work, and I was like, hey, there's a big box by the front door. I wonder what that is. Sure enough, that's what it was. So I whipped out the knife. I cut it open, pulled out the iPad, started filming, and then you guys got to see. That's a little slice of my life. But it's a fun joy. I didn't really get a whole ton or anything really for Christmas. So I did get this book, though, from RDV. And I also got a gift from my boy Skip. He gave me a Comixology credit. That was pretty cool. And my real life buddy, well, I won't talk about that gift. But he gave me something really cool. And that's about it. I live a pretty sad life. But yeah, this was cool. This was something I got for myself and saved a lot of money. In Stock Trades, 42% off. All trades, 42% off. Of course, the problem is they need to be in stock. And they chose a weird name, In Stock Trades. And you go there and like nothing's in stock. Which I don't really blame them because it's 42% off. But it's like, it's not working right. I was like, I want to contact. I was like, you guys should order more. If you're always sold out, you're not ordering enough. And I get you don't want to be stuck with a bunch of crap you can't sell. But you guys are like the biggest discount there is. Like, you're going to sell it, right? Like, so I ordered this bunch of Ed Brubaker stuff. And I was hemming and hawing. I really am kicking myself because when I first put it, like, started investigating on the wish list and seeing where I could get discounted stuff, they actually had volume 1 of the criminal series of the hardcover collected editions, which collect, I think, like 3 of the trades each. And they had volume 1, which you can't find anywhere, at least not for even MSRP. Maybe you might be able to find it for full MSRP, maybe. But they had it 42%. I was like, oh my God. And so I was immediately like, made a little wish list and did all the thing. And I was like, okay, cool. I want to get that. And I was looking around, and then I waited like a couple weeks because I do that. I put stuff and I think about it. I try not to make impulse decisions. And then I was like, all right, I think I really should buy this because it looks like these number ones, they're not really in print, and they'll come back in print. It just takes a while. And sure enough, it was gone. I was like, damn it. Damn it. So they had volume 3. There's 3 volumes. So 1 and 2, out of print, hard to find. They had volume 3, so I picked that up. I picked up Cruel Summer, and then I also had Reckless. So if you see the video, you'll see them. It was fun. I'm really, really excited. We did a video last night, a live stream, a podcast. A vodcast is what they used to be called, if you care. Anyways, that was with Skip and me and Eric Breen and Nalo, and we just geeked out over Reckless, the new Ed Brubaker crime noir novel, graphic novel. It's like 120 something pages. It's about 6 comics in size, if you want to compare it that way. 6 floppies, hardcover, $25 MSRP. Totally worth it. I mean, just for the price, you'd pay that much in floppies, but you can get it discounted. I have a store locally here. If anyone's in the San Diego area and you want to get cheap stuff, there's a store called Yesteryear Comics. It's not really close to my house, but I find myself in the neighborhood sometimes, and you can get all graphic novels, trade paperbacks, hardcover, softcover, whatever. All of them 30% off all the time. So I picked up one of those originally for that, and I think it was like $17. It's a really good price. And you can get them on Amazon right now for $17, by the way, too, if you don't want to go to in-stock trades. In-stock trades, you probably want to get a $50 order because that's when you get the free shipping. So Amazon, $17. Way worth it. So good. This is... I can unequivocally say Reckless is the best thing I've read all year. Of course, it's only 5 days into the year, but if it was if I did read it in 2019, it would probably be the second best thing I read all year. First thing being Pulp. Pulp is just a masterpiece. It's so good. And then Firepower. Firepower is amazing too, but Firepower is just like a fun book, and that there's something to be said about that. But Brubaker, oh man, he's just so good. He's just so good. I all the 3 best things I read were all original graphic novels, not floppies. That should be telling me something, and it is. Let's see who else is around here. RDV. Oh yeah, he's talking about my channel. With the thumbnail being Cash Me Outside Girl. I missed that part. Cash Me Outside. That's funny. If you can make me a good thumbnail, RDV, I'll use it. Ronnie says, welcome everyone to Storytime Live. Zach Richards is in the house. Dragon Ball's here. He says, hi, Blue Wrench people. I'm drinking Stella Artois as a Belgian beer. It's one of my favorite lagers. It's one of those what I call in-between beers. It's like not a cheapo beer like Budweiser or Coors Banquet or Miller High Life. I'm trying to think what else RDV drinks. No, I'm just picking on him. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a big common beer, but it's also not one of like those little microbrew snobby beers. Especially IPAs. If you drink an IPA, shame on you. Stella Artois is like one of the high quality mass manufactured beers. Did I say that right? Mass manufactured beers. Are they manufactured? They're mass brewed. Anyways, it's from Belgium, so I guess they can only make so much. Belgium. How big is Belgium? Can't even find Belgium on a map. This has been around since 1366. But Stella Artois, when it comes to and another thing, cans. I used to be a super snob. I was like, I won't drink beer out of a can. But can technology has really improved. They do these things now where they line the cans with this micro, I don't know if it's silicone or do something, but it's so you don't get the metallic taste like you used to. It used to be I was like, oh, I should only drink shitty beer out of a can. Give me a bottle. But I don't have that problem anymore. Ah, damn, that's good. RDV, you should try this. Stella Artois. It looks like Artois. That's how you'd probably pronounce it up in Wisconsin. Stella Artois. But you should try it. I think you would like it, RDV. It's good. It's a lager, like real Americans drink. It's not a hipster beer. Let's see. Zach says, full price. What a pal. Yeah, he is a pal. RDV's a good guy. And he might be a little strange to some people, but you get to know RDV. He's a good guy. It says, just put my name in the title. This stream is brought to you by RDV. Wait a second. Oh, no, am I renaming the stream now too? Eric Breen is here. How's going on, Eric? Oh, his first thing it says, I can't stay. My brother is out and I have to run the business for the next 5 days, so I need some Z's. Well, Eric, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm going to pretend you are and say, well, I hope you have a good rest of your 5 days and all the business goes smoothly. That's fine. I appreciate you coming by to say hi, and that means a lot, so thank you. And hopefully we'll catch up more sometime after now. Get some sleep. Dragon Ball says, RDV for mayor of Breen Island. Okay. Ash, did you say take her down to Winnipeg? I don't know what the hell you got that from. I can't even comment on it. Tehillim says Firepower Volume 2 out this week. Yeah, very cool. For those of you who aren't getting Firepower on the rack, shame on you. No, no shame, but consider getting it. It's still short, shallow in its run, so you don't have to get many back issues. It's really good. If you like collecting, I like collecting comics. I like collecting comics for a long period of time. And then, years go by and then you get to look back and go, wow, look at what I've accumulated. It just has a fulfilling aspect. And especially when you can converse with other fans that like the books, and there's just something special about it. So I like getting Firepower. I wasn't originally going to get it. I was just going to be like, whatever, I'll read it in the trades. It's probably fine. Robert Kirkman's a good writer. Turns out it's like my favorite book of his. Oblivion Song. It's tough. Oblivion Song and Firepower are very different books. And that's really testimony to Robert Kirkman's writing, that he can write different ways like that. Oblivion Song is really heavy plot oriented. Like, do you remember the TV show? If you haven't read it, do you remember the TV show Lost? Especially like the first season of Lost, where you were just like, what the hell's going on? And they kept finding things in this island, and like it starts off as a mystery and you don't know what the hell's going on, and things like slowly things are getting revealed, and then you're just learning more and more and more and more. Like Oblivion Song kind of is like that. It's not stranded on an island or anything, but it's like that, where you're just like, I don't really know what the story's about, and then you just kind of got to read it and see, and you get introduced to characters, and it does have a big ensemble cast of characters like Lost. So there's going to be some that you gravitate to over others. But it's just when you think like, okay, this is what it's about. Nope. Unveil more story. And I really like that about Oblivion, both Lost and Oblivion Song. Undiscovered Country is another comic that's very much like that. If you like that style of storytelling, both of those comics. Firepower is more, let's have a fun time. Like, it's like almost like Indiana Jones, although there's no archaeology or anything in it. But it's just, that sort of adventure where you have a main character and he's got a little small side, cast of supporting characters. There's a little bit of humor, but it's not really a comedy. And you just, it's just fun adventure and classic storytelling. That's what Firepower's like to me. Let's see. Tehillim says, I enjoyed the second arc of Firepower. I did too. Not giving no spoilers away. Go find them out for yourself. Good. I got a rule here. No spoilers. Unless I spoil. I can break the rules. I'm allowed to break the rules. Because I'm a Democrat. I'm not really a Democrat, but I don't have to be because it's my show. But I break the rules. Never mind. I'm trying to make a Democrat joke and I failed it. Melissa says, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow? Whatever did happen to the Man of Tomorrow? I think it's still some out there. I just sort of fell off it. I'll get some more issues. Let's see. Eric says, if it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium. It's also Taco Tuesday. I had a bunch of tacos tonight from Del Taco. They got a special on Tuesdays where you get like 3 tacos for like it's normally 3 tacos for $1.50, but at my Del Taco, it's for like $1.80 because I have like the expensive Del Taco that charges more for everything. It's funny. I get the in the mail, we get the big coupons and be like, oh, you get this for $1. Then I go to the store and it's like, it's $1.50. You're like, oh, everything's more in California, San Diego. It just got to pay that commie tax. Let's see. RDV says, I drink American beer. Coors Banquet in a bottle. You don't drink it in a bottle, do you? I thought you drank it in cans. Real American drinks it in cans. Real Coors drinker Americans. The kind of ones that sit outside in front of a campfire drinking it. But I don't know. I think you were gifted those Coors, trying to pull a fast one on me. That's why you're drinking them in bottles. Melissa says, Tehillim, it's the imaginary end of a Silver Age bronze Superman. Damn, this beer's good. Real good. got it on sale at the grocery store too. That's another good thing about beers like this. My grocery store was doing sales. It's going on Christmas. I'm gonna miss these. Beer's so expensive. It's like $10 a 6-pack now. But these were $10 a 12-pack as long as you did a $25 grocery purchase, which I did. I had to do the weekly grocery run. So I was like, oh, I'll pick some of this. So I actually have 3 12-packs of beer right now because they kept doing that. Like every week I'd go, they'd have. So one week it was like Sam Adams. So I still have some left from that purchase. And then the next week it was Stella. And then last week it was Heineken. So I got a 12-pack of Heineken too. And I seem to remember liking Heineken a lot more. And I had one and I was like, oh, it's okay. It's still fine, but Stella is like way better. Every time I say Stella, I want to go, Stella. Ronnie's having lemon cake with the chocolate coffee. That sounds gross. That's not a pairing I would go for. But I do like lemon cake and I do like chocolate. And I like coffee. Chocolate and coffee. But I don't know, not a lemon. I think I would go with something non-citrusy, like chocolate cake, or yellow cake, or vanilla cake, or pound cake, or coffee cake, or a brownie, or a cookie. Now, what do I care? Whatever you like. RDV wants to know how they get the coffee into the cake. Magic. Eric Breen is still here, and he had snickerdoodles today. Oh, snickerdoodles are all right. My favorite cookie is chocolate chip. Classic chocolate chip cookie. And not all chocolate chip cookies are made alike. A really good chocolate chip cookie. Oh, man. Especially if it's like fresh out of the oven. Not fresh out of that because it'll like maybe in cooling for like 5 minutes. But it's still slightly warm and a little bit gooey. But not like bendy. Like when you get the soft cookies from the store. Like, oh, it's like the soft cookie. But they're like, the whole thing is just soft because it's soft. What you want is a crispy cookie but still warm. So it's soft because of the warmth, but it still has that slight crispy texture. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but you know what I mean if you've had it. And if you don't, then you're missing out. Eric says, I haven't had snickerdoodles since Grandma made them in the 70s. Jesus, dude, what's a special occasion? Wow. All right. He's like, I gotta work for the next 5 days. Time to go on a snickerdoodles bender before I do. So long, folks. The best chocolate chip cookie has a hint of molasses taste, which is the brown sugar in the recipe. I don't know if I've ever had chocolate chip cookie like that, but I will say one of my top 3 cookies is a good molasses cookie. Nobody makes, that I know, at least not out here in the frickin' Southwest. I haven't seen a good molasses cookie in eons. I know out there someone knows how to make them. Like I'm talking you go to the store and you get a molasses cookie and you're like, what the frick is this? I don't know. I can't find them. And I'm like, I'm willing to pay. I will pay for a good molasses. Like I'm talking the dark, when you look at them, it's like really dark. Not quite as dark as like a dark chocolate cookie, but it's like a dark brown cookie and they're really soft and like chewy. And then you got to get that. I like it this way. I like it with the white glaze on top. Oh, man. So good. So good. RDV says he's celebrating working. Grandma came back from the great beyond. Or Kroger had them. One or the other. Well, one way to know if Grandma came back from the great beyond, did she vote for Biden? Oh, wait, that won't actually tell. Never mind. Sorry. I don't know about you guys, but MJ looks phenomenal on that sweet-looking cover. I don't know, man. I kind of like me some old Gwen Stacy. Joe Biden is like the senile king from Attack on Titan. Haven't heard that reference before, but I'll take it. If you've had Pillsbury Slice Pillsbury Slice and Bake, or Nestle's Tub Batter Cookies, you've had what I mean. It has a light molasses flavor from the brown sugar. Oh, okay. I don't know if I've had the tub batter from Nestle's. When I do the when I do the instant, not the instant cookies, but the pre-made batter cookies, I get the Nestle's. They come in like a yellow wrapper, and it's not Toll. It's like a step up from, it's Toll House, but it's like the gourmet Toll House. You can find it in the refrigerated section, and they're like the size. It comes in a small pack, yellow wrappers, probably the size of like a paperback book. Those dimensions, roughly an inch thick, and whatever. Not like Stephen King's The Stand, but like a normal book. It's paperback. It's about that size. Give them they're like, I don't even know how much they are. Anyways, it makes usually like 20 cookies. It doesn't make a whole lot, but they have a chocolate chip one that's like, I think it's called like extra chocolate chunk or something like that. Man, I used to have, I don't know if you know about baking. They make these special kind of cookie sheets called air bakes, or air. I think they're called air bakes. They're basically a cookie tray, like a cookie sheet tray, but it's like 2 layers of metal, and it's like in between is like hollow inside. And it allows the cookie sheet never to get too hot, so it doesn't scorch the bottom. It's pretty cool. I used to have one of those, and I would just go to the store and I'd buy these, and I had it set perfectly. Preheat the oven, certain temperature. I knew exactly the perfect time to cook it, because you just trial and error, and just get them to absolute perfection every time, because the cookie dough was the same. They're always like they're pre-cut, so you just knew, and you got a perfect cookie every freaking time. And I'd get that perfection that I just talked about, where it was like 5 minutes out of the oven, just resting on a little cooling sheet, and I could just bake 3 at a time. That was like a dessert. Like I just put 3 in it. I think it was like 17 minutes to do. Boom, 3 at a time. Little glass of milk. Oh, fucking like, not the best cookie I've ever had, but certainly the best cookie I've ever had for the ease and the price. Like, because you could buy a pack of those for like $3.50, I think. It's not a whole lot. It's not as cheap as buying like the big tub or any, but whatever. And, I'm sure I could go to a good bakery or a high class restaurant and get like a better cookie for dessert. But then you're like paying like $10 for a cookie. Oh my God. I love when you go to these restaurants, these high dining, restaurants. You're like, oh, it's like dessert menu. You look at the menu and it's like, oh, a cookie and a scoop of ice cream, $10. You're like, what the fuck? Oh, man. I never get dessert at a restaurant. Well, that's not true. My dessert is a drink. One of my favorite desserts to have at a restaurant is a White Russian. Oh, man, that's a perfect end to a good meal if you're going to have dessert. Let's see. Eric says she did, talking about his grandma voting in the Georgia runoffs. How do you know she'd voted in the Georgia runoffs? It's going to take them a week to count the votes, because apparently in 2020 we just forgot how to count votes the same day. Back in the 1800s, we could have an election the same day, but now in 2020, with computers and everything, it just takes all this time to tabulate the votes. Makes you things that make you go, They use brown sugar in the batter. Most recipes for chocolate chip cookies on the back of the chip bags will include brown sugar. Okay. But I'm not a baker. But there's different kinds of brown sugar. I'm pretty aware, and I'm guessing Nestle's not using the dark brown sugar, which is the really good stuff. They're probably just using the light brown sugar. I never taste molasses. Regardless, I never taste molasses when I eat a Toll House cookie. I'm not arguing that that's part of the thing that's in there, but I'm suggesting that it's a minimal. Whatever they're doing, it's a minimal. But hey, as long as it tastes good. Uh, Dems usually caught up before midnight. Wait, the Dems actually caught up before midnight tonight. Won't need all of the suitcases after all. Oh, man. I Am True Skills is in the house. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. He says, Ash, why does most of the new Marvel comics suck? Well, son, pull up a chair and let me tell you a story. A long, long time ago, back in the 90s, well, actually before the 1990s, in the 80s, there was this guy named Jim Shooter. And he was tasked to run the Marvel Comics as the editor-in-chief and to get them shipping out books on time. Because the problem that Marvel was having is the books, they just weren't coming out on time. And back in those days, the big grocery stores and the 7-Elevens and all the places where you bought comics, they didn't like having to deal with all that bullshit. And they as soon as just get rid of comics altogether because they made pennies on the dollar. Profit margins on comics in the newsstand market was really bad. So Marvel was like, oh shit, we better get our act together. We're going to lose a lot of money. We don't know how to do this. So they hired Jim Shooter to take control, and he did. And on top of that, he really tightened up the editing and the writing and spent about 10 years building this thing up. And then Marvel became this real big powerhouse juggernaut. In the meantime, Stan Lee took a back seat to the print process and did a lot of efforts behind the scenes trying to develop TV shows and get people to pick up movies and do stuff. And it was kind of a slog. He wasn't really successful at first, but years later in the late 90s, it would start to pay off. Well, Marvel did get real successful. Became, as far as comics go, the best, most popular maybe they had ever been. At least as far as like collectors go and stuff. And so comics became this cool thing in the late 80s. Well, except people didn't like working for Jim Shooter, so they kicked him out, got him fired, because comic professionals, as you know, like to bitch and moan and complain. So they got rid of him and they replaced him with, I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Ralph Macchio. Maybe it was Bob Harris. Maybe it was, I don't know, Eric Breen. I wish Eric Breen were here. He had all the knowledge. Suffice it to say, eventually Bob Harris got involved. And X-Men was selling like hotcakes. And he decided, let's make another X-Men book. And we'll sell millions and millions of copies. And they sure did. And they sold 8 million. People argue about the real number, but I always say 8 million copies. And basically more comics than will probably ever be sold again. But at the cost of the quality. They went for the short-term gain for the long-term losses. Well, not only did they do that, but they accomplished sending off all their best talent, formed Image, and started painting themselves into a corner. They caused the comic book collapse, big investor boom, or I should say speculator boom. Lots of reasons that happened, but then comics crashed. But when Marvel, they came back from bankruptcy and everything, they didn't learn their lesson. They didn't go back to Jim Shooter and be like, Jim, we're so sorry. We're so sorry that we fired you and replaced you with a bunch of these dumb shits. No, what they did is they put someone like Joe Quesada in charge. And Joe Quesada, he doesn't much like comic books. Well, at least not the mainstream comic books. He likes his indie comics, and he likes doing different things. So he started changing things all around. And then he started hiring new people. One of the biggest things that he hired was this woman named Sana Amanat. Now, she downright hates comic books. In fact, she's admitted she don't even know anything about comic books. And she's said she's not even qualified for the job. But that's okay, because her dad's rich. And he's got connections. And somehow, I don't know how this connection got to Joe Quesada. She's kind of cute. I don't know if that had any involvement in her hiring, but she now pretty much runs the day-to-day operations and decided she's going to make a bunch of changes. Forces female and all that. And all the big talent is gone. Now, also, Marvel's losing money hand over fist for years. So they decided, unlike Jim Shooter, who said we need to raise profits to get a revenue, they said we'll just cut costs to raise revenue. Well, the problem is, it's a short-sighted thing. You can only cut costs so much. Eventually, you can only pay someone so little. Eventually, you can only fire excess staff so much, right? So you get rid of all the big editors and you replace them with interns. Well, that's great. Now you can pay them a lot less. But you can't fire the interns and replace them with slaves. It's as low as you go. They got rid of inkers. But you can't get rid of the pencilers. Someone's got to draw the comic. So they've got the cost cut so low. They pinch so many pennies. They got the printing process so cheap. They got the paper so cheap. There's no more where they can go. And now they can't afford to hire any talent because they don't make any money. And they've gotten their business set to a point of like, well, this is what our expectations are. Can you imagine them paying what page rates they should? Like, they're so used to paying the rates that they do that paying the rates that they should is just unfathomable to them. And then the big executives that oversee things, aka Disney, they wouldn't understand. They'd be like, well, for 20 years you've been doing this. Why do you need to pay your guys double? It's very hard to do those sort of things. So they've lost all their talent. They can't hire anyone good. And the people at the top, the people like Sana Amnat, don't like comics, don't know comics, don't care to know comics. They have no interest in continuing the industry. So the only reason that I can see why there's even a handful of good Marvel comics is because there's still people working in Marvel Comics that grew up loving comic books. And they do it in spite of the failures of Marvel. People that I collect, I get Donny Cates and Chip Zdarsky. Now, to the latter, I can't speak because that guy blocks me on Twitter and I've never interacted with him. But I know Donny Cates. I've listened to him talk about things. And this is a kid who grew up loving comics, going to Comic-Con every year. I probably went to Comic-Con the same time I did, actually. Probably crossed paths and never knew it. He loves comics, which explains why when you read a Donny Cates Marvel comic, it feels somewhat like a Marvel comic. It feels like it matters. And then you read someone else's, I won't name the names, but you read some of these other books and you go, these are people that don't even like comics. So that's my story about why Marvel Comics sucks. And that was really long. Probably bored a lot of people. If you're still awake, congratulations. Let's actually go to a better time and place when Marvel Comics was great. It's called the Silver Age. Well, the Bronze Age is my favorite, but for Eric's sake, let's go. Pause. I don't know where I'm at. Sorry. I had things going. I'm sitting here trying to do back and seeing. It's tough to like pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time. So I was trying to pull up the comic book and I'm sitting here like running into problems in my brains trying to think about what I'm doing, but also try to keep the stream of conscious going. And I just had a meltdown. So, but here you go. We have Amazing Spider-Man on the screen. He's going to face Electro and we're going to get into it. Let's see. RTV says Marvel plus DC equals Epstein Island. Ugh, that's gross. Ronnie says, no dark brown sugars, definite molasses flavor. Okay. Civil War was the downfall to Marvel getting bad. Never had superheroes fighting each other. They turned heroes into villains. Stupid ideas like this inspired Hickman's version of the X-Men. Well, I definitely agree that Civil War sent Marvel on a trajectory, but I think the problems were well before Civil War. I started seeing the problems when I got out of comics back in the 90s. So I think the perspective is, when did you get into comics? If you got into the comics like in 2000, you may not have noticed the problem until Civil War. But if you got into comics in the 80s, you started noticing the collapse in the 90s. Like, what the hell's going on? So anyways, I'm True Skull says, that was a good story. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it. At least one person appreciated that. Made it all worth it. So I'm going to have a swig of beer. God, that's good. Those Belgians, man. They do one thing good. Two things good. They make a good beer, and they made Jean-Claude Van Damme. And here we go. The Amazing Spider-Man. And then came Electro. Weary and dejected, a brooding youth sits motionless in the silence of his room, sadly reliving the past, nervously dreading the future. Pause. I'm sorry, one thing that Silver Age comics apparently seem to suck at is lettering. How am I supposed to read this? Even Comixology doesn't know because I have it on panel view, and normally it just like zooms to the where I'm supposed to read. Nope. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. How long will it be before Captain Stacy and Joe Robertson guess my secret identity? I can't keep rooming with Harry Osborn while he pays most of the rent, and yet, what else can I do? Is it fair to expect Gwen Stacy to love me when I can't bring myself to tell her who I really am? How can I ever pay off all our debts? One small mistake, one careless slip, and J. Jonah Jameson will expose me to the entire world. Sooner or later, my dangerous double life may cause a fatal shock to poor Aunt May. What's wrong with me that I can't get along with the regular guys like Flash Thompson? Nuts. I'll be a candidate for a shrinker if I keep pitting myself this way. Better snap out of it. I couldn't even afford a psychiatrist. Man, do I feel down. The only stroke of luck I've had lately was last night, when I convinced Aunt she was only When I convinced Aunt... Jesus, I can't read. Sorry. Take 3. When I convinced Aunt May she only imagined seeing the web dummy I left in my room. Editor's note, it happened last-ish, to be exact. So I got myself off the hook by making her think she was seeing things, by forcing my own aunt to start doubting her sanity, which makes me lower than... Uh-oh, the bell. Ring. Mrs. Watson and Mary Jane, I thought you were still in Florida. And was it ever a groove, PDO? We took the very first plane as soon as we heard that Aunt May was ailing again. Now that she's here to look after Aunt May, I'll be able to get back to my own pad. Don't worry about a thing, Peter. I'll have her as right as rain. Here, PP. Gwen wants you to call her. She called him PP. That's rad. Hey, Gwendy. What? The farewell dinner for Flash? Oh, I had almost forgotten. We won't let you forget, man. Can't have the bash unless everyone chips in. Well, lover, I just wanted to remind you not to spend your extra money on frivolous things like yachts and Cadillacs. And remember, MJ is off limits to Gwendolyn's guy. I've got to scare up some bread for Flash's party somehow. See you later, lady. I gotta run. I better check my mouthwash. What? That's right. The students don't write comics like this anymore. Oh, Stan is the man. Continuing. Wow, I'm flatter than Jolly Jonas Topknot, and there's just no way for penniless Parker to raise the cash he needs for Flash's going-away party. But it's just possible that my wall-crawling alter ego may have a better chance. Anyway, there's no harm in trying. But, half an hour later, my luck's running true to form, all bad. I haven't spotted a single crime to photograph. Whenever I need a bad guy, the whole world's Simon Peer. Oh no! Who needed that chimney to suddenly start belching? Now I'm not only the poorest webhead around, but the dirtiest. A typical fun hour in Fun City, and all I've got to show for it is a grimy costume. If only I had taken some pictures of Kangaroo while we were fighting. Editor's note, last dish, also what you missed, says Stan. But little Mary Sunshine over there isn't paying off for ifs, ands, and buts. So just keep swinging along, Spidey. Just like J. Jonah Jameson just like sitting in his office. The Spider-Man swings by and he's just like chomping on a cigar. Or a cigarette, I can't tell. One of the two. It's just even when he's like not talking to people, just by himself, no one's watching. J. Jonah Jameson. That's funny. Hey, sorry. See, drinking a beer before you read a comic book, it does help. All I can do now is head for the apartment, and I hope I got a few dollars stashed away for that I may have forgotten about. Well, this really sinks it. I can't go in now dressed like this. Wonder why Harry's shaving off his Fu Manchu. Ah, it was a Fu Manchu. We talked about this a few issues ago. We thought it was just like a bad inking or something, but it was a Fu Manchu. Continuing. Maybe it just didn't grab Mary Jane. Well, I'll unload my clothes and get back on my web. If I swing around long enough, I'm bound to run into something. Although, with my luck, it'll probably be a brick wall. Say, wait a minute. Network TV. Why didn't I think of it before? Where can they ever find a groovier guest star than me? Good news, gents. You're looking for the answer to your prayers. Spider-Man! Forget about Spider-Man, the web slinger. Think of me as Spidey, the perfect panelist. Can you picture the ratings of Carson, Bishop, or Griffin with me on their show? He's right. With a guest like him, we'll pulverize the other networks. But think of the danger, JB. He may be an imposter. A rival network may be planting him here. Would the real Spider-Man wear such a grubby costume? Look, Big Mouth, I don't go around criticizing your threads. Now make nice to the man. He's lifting you with one hand without even straining. Put me down, put me down. I'm convinced you're Spider-Man. What if the audience razzes him? He'll destroy them. Oh, the lawsuits we'll have. Don't mind him. He's paid to worry. First thing we have to do now is draw up a contract for you. Will it take long? You'll just have to answer a few questions. We'll need your social security number, mailing address, signature. You've got to be kidding. How come you don't ask for my blood type also? Don't rile him, Seymour. Don't rile him. JB, we got trouble. One of the high voltage cables is shorting out. Stay back. If you've touched it, you're dead. Call maintenance to have them shut the power off. We can't. It'll cut the whole network off the air. Would you rather have someone killed? Who's what? I can't. Who are these people? There's like different clothes. One guy's wearing a purple jacket now. Anyways, sorry. Keep your shirts on. All we gotta do is throw this circuit breaker. Stay away from there, Dylan. That's got enough volts running through it to stop an army. Don't, Dylan, don't touch it. Zzz. You did it. And you're still standing. But how, Dylan? How? Maybe it's 'cause I'm wearing rubber soles. No, it's impossible. All of that current. So why ain't I dead? It's all right now, JB. I don't know how, but that new electrician, Max Dillon, managed to fix the short. All right. Give him a $5 raise. And everyone get back to work. Max Dillon? I feel like I've heard that name before. Forget it, pal. You're probably thinking of the Marshal and Gunsmoke. Now come on, we got some business to discuss. Was it my imagination or did my spider sense tingle when Dillon looked at me? First thing you'll need is a good agent. Now I've got a brother-in-law. If I knew Spider-Man was here, I would have been more careful. But I didn't think I had anything to worry about from those other slobs. Anyway, I had a chance to test my power again. But I still gotta lay low a little while longer, till my plans are ripe, till Electro is ready to strike once more. And then, not even Spider-Man will be able to stop me. All right. RDV says, Pinky's out for Ash. Start with Jonah. You read left to right, top to bottom. I know how to read comics, Marania. Jeez. But that lettering, that was not right. You could tell that you started at the top. If I started left to right, and actually you're not supposed to read left, right, top to bottom. You're supposed to read top to bottom, left to right. So if something on the right is higher than something on the left, you actually go that first. But anyways, I think after that I read it, now that I've read that page, it was just designed to be like it didn't matter which ones you read, like the order. It was just Peter having all these different thoughts, and you could read them in any order. So once I got past it, I was like, okay, I guess. But still, it was weird. Like I didn't know because I hadn't read it yet. Let's see. The real Electro and not his woke SJW gender swapped lady imposter. MJ was offended that he wasn't attracted. It was a tease. Yeah. Wow. MJ's got a thing for Peter. I hear that a lot of women in the Marvel Universe crave the Peter. You know what I mean. JJJ looks like he's about to leave. I don't know. I think he's just sitting there holding his collar and grunting. Oh, I love these old comics because of the silly little jokes like JJ noticing Spidey swinging by. I don't think he noticed him. That was the thing. He's like Spider's like woohoo, like in the background, and JJ's just sitting there like, like this. I just love that panel. I just kind of want that panel. It's like a piece of art. It's funny. Ronnie says, I like these recaps integrated in the story. Yeah, you think? That's how comics used to be. So you could just jump in anywhere. You could just go to the store and just pick up an issue. And you didn't need to know what happened before because they would just tell you anything you needed to know. And I know well, the reason they don't do that anymore is, number one, because everything's written for the trades. And when you read a trade paperback, kind of like this, collected volume, we're like, we just read that. Like, I don't need to necessarily know. So, and then also, because comics are trying to be cooler. Like, comics aren't comics anymore. They're really like this niche, fictional medium for adults that's just different. It's like, it's not a kid's thing. It's not meant to be accessible. It's really meant to be specialized target audience. And that's why they don't do thought balloons anymore. There's a lot of little things that they've cut out of comics to make it more for the modern normie person. And in some ways that's helped, but in a lot of ways it's kind of destroyed one of the things that comics were. Let's see. Also, JJ is always angry. Yeah, I know. That's kind of the funny thing, is that seeing that is like, it's classic. Like, you wouldn't expect JJ to just be kicking back, like laughing and having a good time. let's see. MJ likes that PP. Oh, yeah. That layout was a bit off. They should have had arrows integrated into the panels, which they used to do when the layouts were really wonky. Yeah, I've seen the arrows before. I think this was a little before there. I've seen the arrows like in the Bronze Age stuff. This is Silver Age. Still, maybe they're still fleshing out the medium, right? This is, I mean, Marvel Comics had only been around for less than a decade at this point. So they're still probably learning a lot of things. Back to the show. For those of you new to the annals of Spiderdom, Electro first gained his uncanny power when Max Dillon, an ordinary lineman, was struck by lightning while repairing some high-tension electric wires. Due to a 1 in a billion set of conditions, the accident gave him total mastery over the power of electricity. Mastery enough to defeat our hero during their first epic battle in Ish number 9. It was only due to Electro's own overconfidence that Spidey was finally able to turn defeat into victory. Later, the web spinner scored once again by grounding himself with a wire, which he hastily attached to his leg. This was found in the Spider-Man Annual number 1. Remember, says Stan? The next time we meet, Electro isn't gonna make any mistakes. Next time Uh-oh. My blasted parole officer's waiting for me. Sorry. That just struck me as funny. I need to explain. So, one of the things I do for entertainment, one of the few videos I watch on YouTube for entertainment is this video game troller. That he's a troll, I guess would be the right word. Basically, he goes by the name. I don't know if I'm not knowing if anyone's gonna have heard of him before, but his YouTube identity is Kosdef, KOSDFF, and I've been listening to him for 5-6 years on and off, and he's a big Call of Duty player. In fact, he manages a pro team and stuff like that. Anyways, he makes these videos, and the whole thing is he just goes into games, public games with people playing Call of Duty, and trolls them. And he's a shit talker, but he's good. And he's not mean. He's fun. Like, he does it in a very fun way, not a mean kind of asshole-ish way. But people get pissed. Anyways, this just reminded me because he runs into a lot of tough talkers, you know, the whole internet tough guy thing. And a lot of times, like, he'll run into kids, and kids will be, and this is funny, they'll be doing stuff, and they'll be talking trash and stuff, and then all of a sudden you'll hear in the background, like, their mom calling them or something, and they're like, oh, gotta go. It's just, the way it comes out is just hilarious. You're seeing someone, like, talking tough all in the mic and stuff, and then you hear in the background be like, Jimmy, are you on the Xbox again? I told you got to do your homework. Oh, sorry, Mom. It's just all caught live, like candid. It's hilarious. Anyways, his show's funny. It's one of those things I can just put on while I'm doing other things and zone out and just listen, and it's just hilarious to me. And this just struck me that way, is where he's sitting there like, I'll get you, Spider-Man. Next time oh shit, my parole officer, I gotta go. Anyway, sorry. That's probably not funny to you, but it was to me. Hello, Dylan. You never forget, do ya? I just wanted to tell you what I heard about your heroism at the TV studio. It's a good beginning, Dylan. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you next month. Yeah, sure. You do that, mister. Smug punk. I'd like to wipe that smile off his face. But I gotta play it cool till the time comes when I'm ready to go back into action as Electro again. Nobody's gonna push me around. Nobody. Zick. This is J. Jonah Jameson with a Daily Bugle TV editorial for tonight. We've just learned that Spider-Man will be a guest on the Midnight Talk Show. On behalf of the decent element of this city, or what's left of it, my newspaper protests this outrage. We must not allow a lawless mass criminal to be glamorized and publicized on family TV. That public enemy must be jailed, not hailed. You tell him, flathead. Hey, wait a minute. This may be the chance Electro's been waiting for. I'm betting that creep Jameson will pay a bundle to anyone who unmasks the web spinner right on TV, with everyone watching. And the guy who does it won't even be breaking the law. It'll be 2 birds with 1 bolt. I'll be paid for getting my revenge on Spider-Man. Seconds later. It's been a long time since Electro moved through town by harnessing the power of electric cables. But I'm as good at it now as I ever was. Meanwhile, a pensive Peter Parker moves along at his own pragmatic pace. They wouldn't pay me in advance for promising to appear on their show. Guess I can't blame them. Why should they trust Spidey? But I'm sick of being so broke all the time. If only... Coming in, Peter? Or you just have a thing about ringing doorbells? Oh, hi, Gwen. Sorry, pretty girl. Guess I was a little preoccupied. That's okay, Mr. P. A girl can't take too much of all this flaming passion anyway. Hello, Peter. Have you heard the news about Spider-Man being scheduled for a TV appearance? Our friend Jameson is having conniptions about it. Sorry, Dad. This scintillating lad is mine tonight. I suspected as much. The most beautiful female in town, and I can't even afford to take her in a taxi. Nuts. Remember, Pete, Flash mustn't suspect that we're planning a party for him. What'll I do when I have to chip in? There must be a way to... Uh-oh. Hope Gwen didn't notice I crackled the porcelain. Why is there porcelain in a bus? Or is that a bus or is that a subway? I can't even tell. Finally, at the ever-popular Coffee Bean. Hey, Gwendy. Couldn't get a date tonight, huh? Come off it, soldier. With Peter on my arm, I feel like a sweepstakes winner. If you're all that groovy, maybe you deserve Mary Jane. When would you like him, dear? Before or after I pull your hair out? Little. Wow. This would be a good frame to have, too. Little catty Gwen and Mary Jane action. Oh, man. Drunk Ash plus classic Stan Lee Spider-Man books equals awesome live stream. I'm not really drunk. Haven't even finished one beer. Now I finished one beer. But no, it just smooths things out. I don't necessarily feel tipsy or anything, but it's that feeling where things are just a slightly funnier. You're just less stressed out about whatever. Just, your inhibitions. It's one of the bad things about alcohol, right? Your inhibitions can go too far gone. Ronnie says, man, they made a lot of the guys have weird receding hairlines, especially the evil guys. Ronnie says, Peter, on the other hand, looks like Dick Clark. who was the epitome of Mr. Squeaky Clean on TV around that time. Yeah, I can see that. Subway train does not have porcelain, except maybe the tiles in the station. Yeah, I don't know what... Well, maybe they would do porcelain. I don't know. It's a different time, not my era. I don't know what's up with Peter Parker, like, getting the ladies like this, though. I guess maybe after high school, he's a late bloomer. Look, gorgeous. If you're in the mood to pick up strays, how about me? We can still keep puny Parker around for laughs. That does it, wise guy. If you think your uniform gives you the right to... Clam up, Chowderhead, before I give you a knuckle sandwich to chew on. Pete, Flash, stop it. I've got to take off. I'm so uptight that the slightest remark could make me blow my stack. Hey, Pete, come on back, boy. Flash was only clowning around. There's something worrying him. He hasn't been himself all night. Yeah, I noticed the improvement. Face it, Gwen. You're just hard to take. I love this. Oh my God. Modern comic writers, go back and read some classic Spider-Man. Read some Stan Lee and learn how to write comics. Meanwhile, directly across town. You heard me, Robbie. I want a front page editorial on every issue, blasting Spider-Man. He's not guesting on any TV talk show if the Bugle can stop it. Never mind freedom of the airwaves. I'm the boss here. That's why I came to see you, Jameson. 'Cause you're the boss. Who in the blue blazes is that? Nobody comes into my private office unless I say so. Then say so, mister. Let's not stand on ceremony. When Electro talks, people listen. And that goes for you too, Jameson. Electro! Electro, I didn't know you were out of jail. Stay back. Don't touch me with those sparks. Relax, mister. Nobody's hurting you. I just came here to ask you something. I heard what you said about Spider-Man on TV. What would it be worth to you to have him beaten and unmasked right on that show? You mean you would do it for a price? Yeah. And with your paper backing me, I'd probably get a hero's medal. What a story! What a break! I'll pay you a cool 1,000. Make it a hot 5,000. $5,000? All right, it's a deal. It'll be worth it to me. And no tricks, Brillo head. I'll be back for the dough. It's too good to be true. I'd have paid 20 grand. Anything to stamp out that wall-crawling weasel forever. I can see the headlines now. Heroic publisher squashes Spider-Man. And on that joyous note, we turn once again to our problem-ridden Peter Parker. Peter, wait. What is it? What's wrong? It's Gwen. What can I tell her? How do I explain? Maybe I ought to try to tell the truth for a change and see how it feels? What's upsetting you, Peter? Tell me. Is it something I've done? You? Oh, no. Gwendy, no. It's just that everything in my life seems to be going wrong. My grades have slipped. Aunt May's still weak. Is that all, Peter? No. There's you and me. How do you think I feel being too broke to wine and dine you with the way I should? Why should someone like you be stuck with a schnook like me? Don't say that. I don't care how much money you have. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. This is it. Now's the time to finally confess what's really gnawing at me. Why can't I do it? Why can't I tell her about Spider-Man? Okay, honey. I'll stop feeling sorry for myself. And I'll help you, Mr. P. I'd rather be here with you on this park bench right now than anywhere else in the whole wide world. This is why I've got to amount to something someday. I've got to do it for Gwen, for the most wonderful girl I'll ever know. And speaking of wonderful people, it's time to visit Jolly Jonah just 2 days later. Don't miss our special show tonight, guest starring the amazing Spider-Man in person. Tell Joe Robertson to come to my office. I have a little surprise for him. You sent for me, JJ? Come in, Robbie, come in. We've both been working real hard lately, so what do you say we take some time off? I arranged for us to see the midnight show in person. I figured you would, since Spider-Man's their guest. He is? How about that? I'll call Captain Stacy and ask him to join us too. We'll make a great night of it. Level with me, man. What's the real bit? Just a few laughs, my boy, that's all. You and Stacy are always saying that what a hot shot that masked maniac is. Well, after tonight, maybe you'll both be changing your minds. I don't like it, JJ. You're too happy. That means trouble for someone. That's why you're a good city editor. You got a suspicious mind. But what about the guest star himself? Glad Harry has a date tonight. Have to grab my costume. Didn't think they'd want me so soon, but I'd still better phone and confirm it. No, this isn't a crank call. Of course I'm Spider-Man. What time should I show up? And which studio do I go to? I like how he's talking through a cloth. That's a good touch. Because that's how you sound like, right? Just like how we're talking through masks all the time, thanks to COVID. Okay, I'll be there. Rats. I forgot my costume was so dirty. And my other one is torn. I'll look like a slob on color TV. Well, there's only one thing to do. I washed it in the sink, but I'll have to use the laundry room dryer and... Uh-oh. I didn't count on a convention down here. There's a laundromat down the block, but there's bound to be people there too. Can't let him see Peter Parker drying his costume. Think, Spidey, think. And so, a few frantic minutes later... What's everyone staring at? You never saw a fella in a paperback mask before? Oh, I want this costume in the Spider-Man PS4 game. I must have it. Let him gape. There's no law against a guy covering his head up. Sorry. And the machine's spinning too fast for them to recognize my costume. They'll probably end up figuring it's some nutty school initiation. Oh my god. That panel's rad. This book is full of good panels. Oh man. Let's see. RDV says, obvious bias, but I like Ramita Sr. over Kirby. I like Ramita Sr. over Kirby too. Ronnie says, one thing's for sure, John Romita Sr. kept up the current fashion trends for the ladies. The guys, not so much, unless they were in the background. No heroes with long hair. Well, long hair, that was for hippies. Peter Parker's a upper class, he's like a New York kid. See, so Remita Sr. penciled 103 through 106. Dominic Powell makes an appearance. Welcome, my friend. He says, good evening. Want to stop by for a bit before going to bed for class tomorrow? He says, hey, Vank, you still weak? It's still week 1, but so far, no issues, Maranya. Oh, you're talking about classes. Okay. He says, this is why I loved reading these issues, Ash. So much humor. Yeah, it's humor, but it's not like the way like modern people, like the modern comics, they just try so hard and it's not funny. Like this just seems effortless. It's just the absurdity. It's not even really a joke. It's just an absurd situation. And I just love like John Romita Sr. just makes this panel work with just everyone just sitting there looking at him like, oh. Anyways, carry on. Finally, at the studio itself, the capacity crowd awaits Spidey's appearance with breathless anticipation, especially one grinning guest. Now, you don't see J. Jonah Jameson grinning like that often. Glad we got here early. Wouldn't want to miss a minute of this. Never knew you were such a TV fan, Jameson. Me? I'm a culture lover from way back. And now, here's Marvin. Spider-Man isn't here yet. What do you suggest we do? Maybe we can replace him with the Beatles? Oh, I see. Another insect's name. That's rather droll, I suppose. That's it. Keep yucking it up. None of you knows what's in store for you. And that's just the way I want it. Perhaps he was delayed by a can of DDT? Well, here goes. I hope I don't make a fool of myself. Look, above us, it's him. What were you doing up there? Just hanging around. We're fresh out of webs, but if you'll take a chair. The first question I'd like to ask is, why do you keep your identity secret? Well, mostly it's because, tell me, what's the second question? Oh, this is a great panel too. You can see like Spider-Man's posture, the way his shoulders are shrugged forward, just like how you would be kind of like, you do. I'm doing the pose right now. You can't see me, but it's like that's subtlety in art that I really appreciate. Romita Sr. is a master. As you may know, the Daily Bugle has threatened to hold it. What is it? What's wrong? Why is my spider sense tingling? Look out! Zick! Crack! Zap! Electro! Dylan the Electrician. Now I remember. I was too preoccupied to recognize him before. Open the exits! Get everyone out of here! Joe, Stacy, stay where you are. I don't want you to miss what's going to happen to Spider-Man. Jameson, you knew this would happen. You were waiting for it. You bet your sweet bippy I was. Sweet bippy. Oh my god, this is how Eric Breen talks. You bet your sweet bippy I was. If you arranged this confrontation in a place like this, you must have been out of your mind. Didn't you think of the risk? The danger to innocent people? You can't play God, Jameson. You gotta stop them. Stop them? I can't. It's too late. He's not kidding with those shock bolts of his. Electro's out to get me, but good. If I can leap at him fast enough, right over his next bolt. That's it, sucker. Come closer, closer. He's gone. All I did was blunder into a low-voltage electrical charge. I forgot how fast he can be moving on his own blasts of current. Now he's on the other side of me. I can keep this up all night. Move, Spidey. This is your finish, wall crawler. After you're beaten, I'm gonna unmask you once and for all. His aim is fantastic. He's hit the cable right under me. Maybe I can slow him down with my webbing. No use. He severed the strands before they could reach him. Bzzz. Stay where you are, and I'll end it fast now. I'm getting tired of toying with you. Thank heaven the audience cleared out before someone would get hurt. Let's go, JJ. Get him, Electro. What's taking so long? If my webbing can't reach him, I've got to trip him up with anything handy. That mic stand should do the trick. Bonk. Now, while he's still off balance, have to strike fast before he can force me to the floor. From here on in, it's hit and run. His electrical charge deflected my blow. But I still managed to knock him to the floor. So it's now or never while he's reeling. Did it! I managed to snare his wrists. He's increasing his voltage to snap the bonds, just as I hoped. Now if I can just pull hard enough before he gets free. It worked! Making his hands and feet touch, it's like crossing live wires. I got him to short-circuit himself. He was defeated by his own power. But the electric feedback, too much for me to handle. Can't hold on to wall. Slowly, inexorably, the fateful seconds tick by until I have to get away before Spider-Man can reach me. Short circuit weakened me too much. Could never hope to fight him now. But after a while, I'll recharge. Then, I'll bide my time. Everyone's gone. The studio is in shambles. I've got to leave too. Can't let anyone find me while I'm this weak. My one chance to get some cash, and I blew it. After what happened, I can never go back. No producer would touch me with a 10-foot pole anymore. So once again, Spider-Man's had it. Even my costume got singed, worse than ever. And my hands, all bruised and burned, even through my insulated gloves. If this is a victory, I'd hate to be defeated. Or maybe I'm just kidding myself. Maybe I've been defeated. Maybe Spider-Man's whole career is just one big defeat, and I've just been too blind to notice. Next, introducing the Schemer. Dominic says, this is pretty funny. The comedy comes off as natural for this absurdity, not forced. Artie says, Stan knew how to write. Most of the current writers can't even fathom how to do this. Ronnie says, Sweet Bippy was a catchphrase on Laugh-In. It's just awesome. It just feels so like the time. It feels like something Eric would. I'm going to start saying it. Sweet Bippy. I got to write that down. Hold on here. I got a little sticky note. Sweet Bippy. I have to write this down because in 20 minutes I'll forget. I'll be like, there was this thing I read that was funny and I got Bidenitis. Let's see. Donna says, Stan, Kirby, Ditko, and others from the Marvel bullpen would teach some of the current writers and artists how things are done. Yeah, that's how it used to be. And it wasn't just them. Like, even later, like John Byrne, John Romita Sr. You had like the later generations teaching. It was how it was, like Frank Miller was, mentored by Neil Adams. And that's all it was. The old teaching the new over and over. And everyone just loved the medium. And I think that's why the medium grew, because people stood on the shoulder of giants, and they took what someone before them did and they learned from them, and then they brought their own thing to it. And nowadays everyone just wants to get away from it. They just want to abandon the old ways because they don't like it. And that's why comics are failing, because it's run by a bunch of people that don't have the appreciation for this. They don't love this, but their job is to do it. So they're going to transform it into something different. This is why you should never let people in on something that don't appreciate the material. I mean, comics have always been for everyone, but they were specifically for people that wanted to enjoy them, not wanted to hate them. Anyways. Marani is showing her age again, giving us these editor notes. Marani says, gotta inform the youngins. You do it that. I gotta tell you, man, I like it. It makes the comics much more valuable to me, or not from a monetary sense. The comics have more value. You read one of these Spider-Man issues, and it feels packed full of story. Like it feels like I took a long time to get through that issue. And it kind of feels like a bad thing right now, because I'm so used to like, I can zip through an issue in 10 minutes. And this feels like, oh God, it took forever. But I know my perspective is skewed. I know I should be seeing it the other way. I should be seeing it as like, man, this 15 cents back in the day got you a good half an hour, 45 minutes of entertainment, and you could sit around. And that's the thing. I don't want to zip through the issue. I love stopping on these panels and looking at the details and the subtleties and the art, and that the artist was contributing to the story. This I just miss comics being done this way. Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? I'm an old boomer whining about old times. Next issue, The Amazing Spider-Man. Ever since Spider-Man drove the Kingpin into hiding last year, no one has been powerful enough to take his place as the king of crime. Until now. Until the coming of the Schemer. And now, prepare to take over the Kingpin's domain. He won't take it lying down, man. He's finished. There's nothing more he can do. Now listen to my plan. We'll use guerrilla tactics. We'll hit where he's weakest, and then run. We'll strike quickly, suddenly, always where they least expect it. But what if the Kingpin himself returns? What if we have to face up to him? No one but Spider-Man's ever tangled with him and walked away. We will face that problem when we come to it. But until then, remember one thing. Not for nothing, I am called the Schemer. Even now, another unit of our little army is striking according to my plan. Hey, are you nuts? Are you guys nuts or something? This is one of the Kingpin's trucks. When he gets wind of this, your lives won't be worth a plugged nickel. Shut up. We want him to hear about this. Don't just stand there. Grab a rod. At that moment, a couple of blocks away, that explosion may not have meant anything, but on the other hand, No harm in Spidey checking it out. It's time I left my threads out for an airing anyway. Uh-oh. There is trouble below. Just in time to set up my camera. Looks like a daylight hijacking. Look out! It's Spider-Man! The schemer didn't figure on him showing up. The schemer? Never heard of him before. Hey, that's Dirty Pool. Crack. Whoop. I've seen him before. He's one of Kingpin's hoods. Someone called the schemer tangling with the Kingpin's gunnies? This could be bigger than I thought. But what does it mean? If the Kingpin's back in action, then... Hey! Better stop daydreaming, Spidey. I'll hold him. You finish him quick. I've been itching to do this for years. Yow, my hand! Use your blaster, dummy. He's too strong for you. Okay, gents. Now that you've had your fun, I'll just leave you here to finish where you left off. Zock. Since you're not hurting anybody but yourselves, I'm going to split. Because I've got all the pictures that I need by now. And I need some time to think. If this mob is still in action, it means the Kingpin hasn't quit. And that means big trouble. Also, I've got to learn more about the schemer. Anyone powerful enough to challenge the Kingpin? Uh-oh. They're cutting out now. Gotta pause here for a second. You know what this whole interaction with the two gangs like fighting each other and stuff, and the if you've actually had a chance to play the Spidey PS4 game, this is a lot like what the game is like. You'll come across like gangs doing stuff, and you just like come out of it. You're like, go check it out, and then you start jumping on the action, start beating people up, and it's a big part of the game. Just getting hoods on the streets, sometimes fighting each other or whatever. And then they'll cut out on a car, and sometimes there'll be like a kidnapping, and they'll be racing down the streets, and you'll have to like web swing through through downtown New York, and then get on the car and dodge them as they try to shoot you, and then punch them out of the car. And it just, this whole interaction, I was like, this feels like the video game, which means the video game actually feels like the comics, because this was way before the video game, obviously. Sorry, I just thought I would throw that in there and interject. 1 second. Alrighty. Let's see. Where were we? Oh. Thought I'd seen that scene. Okay, here we are. Well, this is one time I really played it safe. I got my pictures and took off while I'm still ahead of the game. But I can't get the schemer out of my mind. I didn't think any mob leader would have the nerve to step on the Kingpin's toes. With his cunning, his wealth, and his super strength, he's the most dangerous crime lord alive. Even Spider-Man almost became his victim. I still remember the last time I saw him. Just when he seemed to be trapped, he escaped in a speeding getaway car. And I can't forget that the driver seemed to be a woman. Boy, if old Fatso ever had a girlfriend or a wife, I wonder what she'd be like. Pause. Old Fatso. Just want to point this out, because for decades people have been having this argument that Kingpin's not fat. He's all muscle, and he's not. He's fat. Stan Lee just wrote Peter Parker saying, "Old Fatso." Unpause. Well, that's one thing Spidey doesn't have to worry about. But Peter Parker has been wrong before, and now we wonder, as we change our scene, can he be wrong again? Come in. I've been waiting for you. Waiting, Vanessa? Why? Because of something I found. You told me our son decided to remain in Europe after college. You told me he wanted to be on his own. But you never told me this. Headline reads, Wealthy student missing in the Alps, believed to have met with a fatal accident. I didn't want to worry you, because it's lies. All lies. He wasn't despondent. He didn't have an accident. Nothing happened to him. It couldn't have. Not to the Kingpin's son. I knew it. I always knew it. All these months, my heart told me that our son was dead. He must have read about you in the papers, even over there. When he learned that his father really was, he couldn't bear to live with it. No, it isn't so. It isn't. It isn't. It can't be. No son of mine would be so weak, so spineless. Richard was my son too, and now we both have lost him forever. Be quiet. I will not listen to any more. Your anger cannot bring him back. No, but it can drive me into action again. Anything is better than this hiding and endless futile waiting. While in another part of town, pictures of some cheap hood slugging it out. Is this the best you can bring me, Parker? But how about Spider-Man? He's on the pics too. Who cares about him fighting some penny-ante punks? These pictures are nowhere, boy. Then I'll sell them to the Globe. All right. I'll give you $5 each, 'cause I'm an old softy. It's robbery, but he's got me over a barrel since I'm broke. Okay, big spender, I'll take it. Why is it always the richest guys who are the cheapest? Peter, did you? Well, he didn't even notice me. I hate to sound disloyal, Mr. Robertson, but nobody ever leaves Mr. Jameson's office with a smile. Still, I don't know what makes the kid so uptight. He should be used to Jonah by now. Guess I shouldn't complain. It's still more than I had when I went in, but it's nothing compared to how much I need. Gwendy's birthday is coming up soon, and I'd like to get her the world, but she'll have to settle for a heck of a lot less. Well, I'd better see Dr. Bromwell now about Aunt May. Doc, I apologize about not paying your bill yet, but that's all right, Parker. Your aunt's Medicaid will take care of most of it. Wow, that's right. I forgot about that. But I'm still worried about her condition, son. She's still weak. Needs lots of care. Medicaid or not, I should still have some extra money put away in case Aunt May really needs special care. But why can't I think of something? Why am I such a washout when it comes to dough? But instead of waiting for Mr. Parker's answer, let's return to the schemer for a while. We managed to grab one of the Kingpin's gunnies like you told us to, boss. Good. I trust he's ready to cooperate with us by now. Sure. Why shouldn't I play ball with you guys? The Kingpin ain't showing himself for months. He didn't care about us, so I ain't taking no rap for him. I'll tell you whatever you want to know about him. Naturally. It isn't safe to defy the schemer. But I warn you, no tricks, The schemer cannot be fooled. If you try to deceive me, you'll live to regret it, but not for very long. Take him away. Have him reveal everything he knows about my overstuffed target, the Kingpin. Schemer, can I ask you something? Speak up, man. What is it? It's about Spider-Man. Where does he fit in? Forget Spider-Man. He's no more than an accidental nuisance. Once the Kingpin has fallen, he wouldn't dare to attack the schemer. But at the moment, Spidey's involved with a somewhat different problem. So long, PP. Can't say I'm gonna miss you. Take care, Flash. About face, soldier boy. Gentle Gwen may send you off with a pat on the cheek, but Mary Jane is something else. Mwah. Not bad, Redhead. But now, if you'll hold the gentleman's cap, and if Mr. Parker will kindly look the other way. Woo-wee! Who needs a plane? Just let me wave my arms and I'll glide all the way back to Nam. I know you were just being friendly, Gwen, but... Friendly my eye? I was doing my darndest to get you jealous, man. Say, MJ, you acted like you enjoyed that. What do you mean, acted? Boy, if you two kids were recruiting sergeants, there wouldn't be a civilian left in town. Come back safely, soldier boy. Which is worse, staying behind while other guys are doing the fighting? Or fighting in a war that nobody wants, against an enemy you don't even hate? Why so solemn, man o' mine? I don't know, Gwendy. Sometimes I feel like that nothing makes sense. Oh? You must have been listening to Gwendolyn again. Hey, how about catching Easy Rider with us? Sorry, sweetie. I want the lad all to my greedy little self tonight. Glad you did that, Gwendy. I just wasn't in the mood. There's been something I've been wanting to talk to you about. Then chomp those lips, lover. I'm listening away. What? My spider sense starting to tingle, but why? Scree! That speeding truck being sideswiped by another car. Gwen, look out! I took the brunt of it with my body. I can hold the truck off us till Gwen, she's been hurt. I must have pushed her harder than I thought. She's unconscious. I have to get help. Get her to a doctor. But if anyone sees me lifting a truck with my bare hands, it'll mean the end of my secret identity. Still, I can't leave her here any longer. That broken parking meter, if I can manage to reach it. Now, if it'll just bear the weight without snapping, it's working. There's the car, the one that did the sideswiping. He's backing up, starting to leave. It was no accident. He wanted to wreck the truck. And once Gwen is safe, I'm learning why. Thwick. My Spidey tracer is all I'll need. Seconds later. Okay, stand back. The show's over. Don't move her, son. The ambulance is on its way. Sure was lucky that parking meter held the truck up. Yeah, The two of them wouldn't have had a chance without it. She'll be all right, fella. Just a case of shock and some bruises. Thank God. If anything happened to Gwendy, No. I won't even think of that. Foreshadowing. Nothing more I can do for her now. All she needs is some rest and medication. But the one thing I need is action. I've got to learn who's responsible for what happened and why they did it. And then Spider-Man will make them pay for it. And how they're gonna pay. I'll search the city all night if I have to. Crisscross every street till I find my spider tracer. It might have been the schemer, whoever he is, trying to hijack another of the Kingpin's trucks. And Gwendy and I were just innocent bystanders, which is why no crime can ever be ignored. Because there's always someone who will be hurt by it sooner or later. And you never know when that somebody might be a person you love. Oh, look at that full circle storytelling. That's what drives Peter Parker. But he didn't have to come out and say Uncle Ben one time. Because Stan Lee is not a shit hack fanfic writer. Sorry, continuing on. Finally, long hours later, I figured the warehouse area was my best bet, and I was right. Impulses from the car below. Now to find where the driver is. Must be somewhere in this building. This is it. I recognize some of those hoods. They were in the schemer's mob. That creep in the cape must be the schemer himself. Might as well try to take them by surprise. And this is as good as a way as any. Hey, someone's at the window. This high up? It can only be Spider-Man. Get over there, you fools. Don't give him a chance. Not very sporting of you, schemer. Come back. He tricked us. Stop him. Stop him. Don't crowd, boys. I'm not going anywhere. Come on, pile on him. Not till I get what I came for. You got him. Good. Not even Spider-Man can beat impossible odds. You're right, cornball. But if you think these odds are impossible, forget it, man. Zock. He called him cornball. That's awesome. I have to keep moving, and fast. These guys are playing for keeps. Crack. But this time, so am I. Zatap. Not even Spider-Man can spoil my plans now, when they are finally so close to fruition. Thok. Where'd you learn to talk that way, schemer? In a standard supervillains manual? Ooh, that was close. Too close. Mustn't give him another try. Whip. Oh, get him. In a pig's eye, you will. Zack. A most impressive performance. A pity it will do you no good. Those openings in his desk. I'm right in front of them, and I don't like it. And now the schemer strikes. Click. Ba-tam! He's got guns in his desk. Like, is he really planning on having his foes stand in front of his desk? The 60s are so awesome. My hunch was right. No wonder they call him the schemer. Okay, mister. Now that you've shot your bolt, I figure it's my turn. Not just yet, it isn't. Slack. That giant light atop his desk was more than a light. It's a huge hydraulic press, and it's pinning me like a vice. Why would you do this? First of all, guns, at least, okay, maybe someone else. Why would you make your desk a vice in case your enemy comes at you and tries to climb over the desk? This is crazy. This is the craziest trap ever. But I guess he's the schemer. Like he thinks of everything. Did you think that I, who shall crush the mighty kingpin, could be defeated by you? If he increases the pressure, I'll be done for. Unless you have only yourself to blame. It wasn't your fight. My enemy is the kingpin. That's it, man. Keep talking. Meantime, I'll position my arms like levers for maximum support, like that parking meter under the truck. Now, all I have to do is exert enough counter pressure so that something has to give. Like the creaking, straining plaster slowly cracking against my fingers. No! All the intricate wires, the explosive devices, if they should become exposed, they'll... Vroom. That's a good shot. Look at that shot of Spider-Man. And that's a blown up frame, by the way. Like, he did that, on a 1/3 page frame. Like, that's nice. Later, as the smoke begins to clear, the place is a wreck, and my gun-happy sparring partners are all knocked out. But the schemer, he's gone. He made his escape during the blast. Even if the big fish got away, at least I paid them back for Gwen. Gwen! I've got to get back to her. She'll be wondering where I am. It's starting to snow. Another few minutes and my clothes would be soaked where I left them. Better hurry before visiting hours are over. I've still got another few minutes. Oh, there's Gwen's dad. Hi, Captain Stacy. How's Gwendy? She was asking about you, Peter. Hey, if all patients were as voomy as you, every guy would want to be a doctor. Is there something wrong? Don't you hear me? I hear you. I hear my ever-loving boyfriend who cares so much about me that he stayed away till now. Dad, would you show Mr. Parker out? I wouldn't want to keep him from more important things. Honey, you've got it all wrong. Not now, son. She needs her rest. How can she think that I left because I wasn't concerned? Most females tend to think with their emotions, Peter. Oh, outrage. Oh, canceled. Stanley's canceled. How dare you? This is the most misogynistic comic I've ever read in my life. How dare they say such an offensive thing? Oh, I can't read Spider-Man ever again. Sorry, continuing. And you know how spirited Gwen is. I'm sure she'll see things differently in the morning. You'd think I could take it by stride, but sorry. Take 3. You'd think I could take it in stride by now. I should be used to people never knowing the truth about me. The truth about you? I don't understand, Peter. Huh? Oh, I meant I wish I could make her see how I really feel about her. Whew. You almost blew that big time, Parker. Gwen's dad is too sharp. The slightest slip on my part could make him suspect my secret. If he doesn't already suspect. Why do I suddenly feel so cold? Is it the weather? Or the fact that I feel my life reaching a turning point? And I'm afraid to guess how it may all turn out. Next, the Kingpin takes over. Nice cover. All right. What have I been missing in the chat? Let me see if I can. Boom, boom, boom. Rania says, the older comics were more dense back in the day, but in a good sense. RDV responds, I used to read 20 of these a night after school and work. They are so good that I needed to feed my addiction. Think of some of the big words being used in these issues, says Rania. Stan and company never wrote down to kids. He trusted that kids would look the words up if they didn't understand by context. That is a great point. When I was 13, I started collecting comics. That's when I started collecting comics, when I was 13. But that wasn't the first comic I ever bought. The first comic I ever bought was X-Men 162. I started collecting on X-Men number 210. So that's approximately, 48? Well, I guess it's exactly 48 issues later. So 48 issues, what's that, 4 years? So I was 13. That means I bought my first comic. I was 9. And I mean, it stuck with me. I didn't know about collecting comics as a 9-year-old. It was more like I think I got it at a drugstore. Back like the old school drugstores that Maranya will remember, where they had like the soda fountain and the ice cream. You know, you could go to the back or wherever it was, part of the store, and they had like the ice cream guy who would serve up. I miss those. Anyways, I seem to remember it was one of those places. And I got it was, they were a drugstore. It wasn't really an ice cream. But they just had a section in the store. Like, I think they called them soda fountains. Anyways, I seem to remember buying it. It was X-Men 162. It's a famous cover where it's got Wolverine on the cover with the Brood in the background. He's on his knees and he's like changing into a Brood. And that grabbed me. And I didn't really know anything else, but something made me want to get that, and I got it. And years later, I knew about comics. I knew about superheroes. Other kids talked about it. I used to play in a role-playing game with a friend, the pen and paper role-playing games. He introduced me to the system called Champions. And I love Champions because the Champions character sheets that you'd make for your character had like a drawing, like a nude, not like a naked drawing of a man or a woman. But obviously no genitalia, but just essentially like what you could do is it was there, and then you could get like colored markers and like draw a costume. So it was designed, and man, that just blew my mind. I made Xeroxes of these sheets, and I was making characters creations all the time. And just designing costumes and come up with characters, and I would just became boom. And then I started learning about a lot of comic book characters because he was a comic guy, knew more about stuff, and I knew about like Spider-Man and the Hulk because those were like TV shows, but I didn't know who really the X-Men were, despite having bought the comic I bought was an X-Men. But I learned about Daredevil. I distinctly remember learning about Daredevil for this guy. And I just thought it was so cool because I was like, he's blind, but he's like super acrobatic, and he knows martial arts, and he's like ninja. I was like, and back in that time period, I was all about ninjas. Ninjas were the coolest thing freaking ever. So I was like, he's blind and he's like part ninja, and I was like, this is so amazing. And his name was Daredevil. And I was like, oh, he's my favorite hero, and I'd never even read a Daredevil comic. So yeah, it was this time that just got me going. But my point of this whole story that I went way off track into the weeds was about the writing down to you. Comics, I didn't like things that wrote down to me. I didn't like a lot of cartoons and stuff because they felt very, very childish. And I just never appreciated it. When I finally did decide, I was 13 years old. I think I was at a Save On Pharmacy, if you remember those. I don't even know if they're still around. Anyways, I was at the magazine aisle where they'd sell the comics, and I remember going in and seeing X-Men 210 and 211 were on the shelf. And 211 is the one that grabbed me. That was the issue. That was the newest issue. So technically that's when I started getting comics. It was 211 was out, but they had both issues, so I got 210, 211. 210 is the 25th anniversary. It's got a picture of Wolverine, like his face, and he's surrounded by a bunch of Marvel heroes where they did the 25th. And then 211 is that iconic cover with the gray background and the X-Men just standing there posing. And the line says, go ahead, mess with us, make our day. And there was something that just screamed out to me as a 13-year-old boy seeing that. I was like, that's the fucking coolest thing ever. This is my new favorite comic. And I bought those 2 issues, and that was history. But Chris Claremont, he didn't write down to kids. But the comics were always suitable for kids. And that's, I think, the best content. I think that's why Star Wars worked so well. You can watch Star Wars. I can watch. I just did. I watched the original trilogy again just last week. And I was sitting down, and I've seen it a million times, but it's been quite a few years since I've seen it last. And I was like, yep, it still works today, even at 47. It works for as much for me today. It doesn't feel childish in any way. But yet Star Wars is also the first movie that I ever saw. And it's the most beloved movie that I've ever had growing up. It shaped my life. Like I've used it as the bar for everything. And it's never was too complicated for me, right? There were things I didn't get when I was 9 when I watched it that I do today. There's a lot of depth to the movie that I see today that I didn't back then, but I didn't need to. That's fine. Just, you don't have to write down. I cringe every time when I see something and I feel like it's written down, like, oh, kids won't get it, so we got to make it stupid. And it's like, no, you don't. They don't have to get everything. Just write it so that the parts that they do get are enough. And if you have good characters that, are interesting and they tell good lessons and they're characters that the kids can look up to, because believe it or not, kids want to look up to people. I really believe that. I believe kids want to have role models. They don't want to have role models necessarily forced on them, but I think that they do. I think, this is why when kids have good parents, they look at their parents as heroes. Like, kids know right and wrong. We're all built with that inside of us. I believe it. So as long as you have characters that kids can look up to and like, and you can have stories that are interesting, and it's not that hard to make interesting story for kids because they haven't seen a ton of stories. So you don't have huge competition. Obviously, as you get older, if I've watched 1,000 movies, I'm a lot more picky on the things because, like, I've seen so many good movies now. I don't tolerate the shitty ones as much. But when I've never seen a movie before, your first movie is the best movie you ever saw. It doesn't matter what it is. You're just like, oh, look at this. So yeah, don't write down to kids. You don't need to. Integrated rogues gallery there. Weird hairlines, ginger, black guy, and among others. Yeah, Stan Lee was all types. He didn't care. Let's see. Kingpin looks fat, which is why Peter called him Fatso. But he really isn't. No, he really is. You've seen him mostly naked in a sumo outfit. He's like a sumo wrestler. He's got muscle for sure. I mean, he's not just a total blubber, but he's got a lot of fat over that muscle. He's like an old school pro wrestler. like King Kong Bundy, or, like the old wrestlers with the guts, right? Nowadays, a lot of pro wrestlers are like chiseled bodybuilders. But like in the 80s, remember when most of the wrestlers were just big dudes? That's what he reminds me of. Let's see. To my recollection, Peter used to call him Tubby or Fatso until he went to punch him as Spider-Man and nearly broke his hand. I forget which issue it was. I think I remember that issue. I think I've read that. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Harry is a dork and should realize she's just not into him, says RDV. Yeah, Mary Jane, the Mary Jane being written now, I don't like this Mary Jane. I'm like, she's kind of skeezy. Like, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like Gwen Stacy is written more like the Mary Jane I'm used to. I don't know what that is, but I'm liking Gwen more than Mary Jane. Like I don't know. It's cool if Mary Jane doesn't like Norman or Harry Osborn. Sorry, I don't like seeing her with Harry Osborn, but she shouldn't pretend to be with him. I think that's lame. Like you're just like, dude, don't be using the dude. He likes you, and if you don't like him, then don't be with him. Don't be like, that was a shitty thing to say. Like, who says I was pretending to, I was like, oh man. No wonder the dude turns into Green Goblin, wants to fucking kill everyone. Because Mary Jane, Jesus. Schemer seems to type to line up goons that fall in front of his desk and shoot them. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's a total like Dr. Evil type of thing to do. I could see Schemer. Maybe Schemer wanted some pressed ham. Yeah, it's funny. It works. In the 60s, you could do this stuff. It reminds me of old 60s James Bond movies. The villains are just like, what? See, Spidey uses his brain to get out of jams. He knows physics. Yep, Spidey's a smart dude. There are 6 or 9 panel pages, but they aren't talking heads. There may be dialogue, but there's also action. Oh yeah, there's no talking heads. You could not get away with doing talking heads back in this time. Like you'd have been fired. Stan would have been like, get the fuck out of my office. No talking heads. Like, what? That is so not the Marvel way. I can't believe they do that today. The talking heads is out of control. It's like everyone thinks they're Alan Moore. Look at me. I did 9-panel grid of talking heads. Aren't I just a master comic writer? No, you're a fanfic wannabe. That's what you are. You're a poser. The Marvel Adventures line back in 2010 to 2011 were for all ages, but they never felt watered down. They don't need to be. Like I said, my first comic was X-Men. X-Men, Chris Claremont. One of the wordiest writers of the time. Not just wordy, but that dude loved to throw in big words all over the place. He was kind of seemed like self-impressed. But you were right before, Maranya. Like, if I didn't know a word, I would look it up. That's kind of the point. You should be challenging young readers. That's how, as a reader, you learn to read. If you just give them dumb stuff to read all the time, they're just going to stay at that dumb level. Dominic says, heading to bed, but this was a fun live read. Well, I'm glad I made it some fun to you. And to everyone else, hopefully I made it fun too. Marnie says, good night. I say good night as well. RDV says, I need more Stan Lee Spider-Man conversations in my life. We all could use more Stan Lee Spider-Man conversations. We could use more Stan Lee in our life. It sucks that he's no longer with us. He is the best thing that happened to us. Melissa says, Talking Heads are Frank Miller. You're not wrong, Melissa, but not what I'm talking about. You're referring to what Frank Miller brought to the table was, and this was popular for a short time too. A lot of people like Todd McFarlane ripped this off. where he would do the talking head newscaster. Like you do a page of like newscasters looking at the camera, like you were looking at the TV was the whole point, and you were seeing the newscaster, and then they would be saying something, which was a way for him to describe what was going on in the world through a character. That was a trope that Frank Miller, I think, started with Dark Knight Returns. I think. Or did he do it in Ronin? I can't remember. It's been a long time since I read Ronin. But for sure he did it in Dark Knight Returns. And then everyone was like, oh, yeah. And especially Todd McFarlane, who was big at... But I don't necessarily... Even though those are technically talking heads, what I'm talking about is like what Tom King does. And just has characters in his book just sitting there looking at the camera and espousing dialogue. And then next panel, another looking at the camera, espousing dialogue. Next panel, a 9-page grid. And thinking he's writing Watchmen or something. And it's like, no. And so many people are copying it. That's what I'm talking about. That's the talking heads. And Frank Miller never did that. Frank Miller was one of the best visual storytellers ever to work in the industry. When you want to talk about movement and camera flow and action on screen, he did some amazing stuff. He was so good in comics. That he influenced Hollywood. Go watch The Matrix and see the scene. Some of the scenes in The Matrix are pulled right out of Frank Miller books. Let's see. Great stream, guys. Night, everyone. And it looks like there's no more chat. So I'm going to go ahead and call this a night as well. I want to thank everyone for being here like I do all the time. This was an extra long one. I didn't realize. I tried to end this like at midnight Pacific time, and this went half an hour over. But it felt good. I felt like I had a good conversation. I felt like you guys seemed to be enjoying yourself. I like the comments. I always enjoy comments. So if you are not commenting, you don't have to. But I encourage you to throw stuff out there. If you're new to the things, jump in. Like, everyone here is really friendly. Even Melissa is super friendly. She gets kind of heated about some of the things going on in the world and comics, but she's a sweetheart. She doesn't mean any harm. So feel free. I love to see the comments. Like, I don't want it to be all about me. So I'm here as much for you as you are here for me, to be honest. Thank you again for RDV for sponsoring this particular episode with the Amazing Spider-Man. This was probably two of my favorite. The Electro issue was really good. That was probably my favorite issue of the series so far. But all these have been fun, and I look forward to reading some more. The next Thursday we'll come back. I'm not sure how many more issues we have left. But it'll be more Amazing Spider-Man. So stay tuned. Come back. Make sure you have a nice drink. Tuck yourself into bed. And get story time with Ash. So I'll see you next time. Same Ash channel. Same Ash time. Good night.